filled up muscle daddy naked men on my girlfriend's phone. My drunk girlfriend Jen came home and basically jumped me in bed. We went at it until she fell asleep around 1 a.m. That's when I noticed a pop-up on her phone with a ticket pass to a traveling show with male strippers that travels around the country and puts on a male strip shows. And yes, the ticket was for a show tonight. I checked her ticket history and it looks like she has gone to a lot of these shows. I also looked at her photos and found a folder with over 100 pics of her with male dancers wearing not a lot of clothing. I'm struggling with the idea that Jen enjoys watching hot naked men dance and has been hiding it from me. I feel inadequate and uneasy about the situation. Although there's no evidence she cheated, there have been 2 nights she didn't come home that match the dates of the shows. Yeah, I have a good memory. It makes me wonder if something more is going on. I've always trusted Jen, and I don't want to accuse her of anything without evidence. However, this whole situation is making me uneasy. How do I bring this up to her without making her feel like I don't trust her? And how do I deal with the nagging feeling that even more may have happened? The shock of knowing my nerdy Jen was regularly watching male strippers, along with low-key feelings of inadequacy. I'm okay looking but I'm not ripped, blinded me to the fact that the act of deception on her part was the bigger issue. I knew I had to talk to Jen. At home Thursday evening I told her I saw the ticket on her phone the night of the show, and asked her why she lied to me that she was going to the movies. She was initially taken aback and defensive but eventually apologized for not being upfront. She said that she and Amber just considered it a fun and even silly girls' night activity. Jen admitted she kept it quiet from me because she wasn't sure how I would react and didn't want to make things awkward between us by even asking. It was just something fun and naughty. She admitted that this was not her first time attending a show like this, but she couldn't remember how many times in the past. Jen also said something I never thought of, that she felt safe going to these shows, as it was an all-women environment, compared to bars and clubs where guys get drunk and rizz up on women. She reassured me that these shows were just to have fun and not about any dissatisfaction with our relationship. She said at least 3 times that she finds me attractive and was very satisfied with our 69 life. She even said if it would help me process things that she and I could go together to a club with female dancers. Neither of us have ever been to a strip club with female dancers but thought it would be similar, and I could see for myself that it was just naughty fun and we could experience it together. After a couple hours of talking she grabbed my hand and took me up to the bedroom to assure me that I am still the hottest man in her life. Next day I was satisfied with her explanation. Jen didn't tell me how many times she had gone to these shows, but I chalked it up to her being embarrassed at me finding out and not wanting to hurt me anymore. I also didn't ask about the pictures. I didn't want her to know that I had looked at her phone, and there really wasn't any smoking gun evidence of infidelity. But the next day something still just felt off. Maybe I was just questioning myself and my naivety up until this point. So I reached out to a mutual friend of ours, Kirsten. Kirsten was part of Jen and Amber's college friend group, and I knew Kirsten casually from a few classes we had taken together. Kirsten and I weren't close at all and I hadn't seen her since graduation, but we reconnected at her wedding a couple years ago. The wedding was just around the time Jen and I became exclusive. Jen and Amber were both bridesmaids. Jen took me as her +1. As far as I knew, Kirsten and Jen didn't have much interaction after the wedding, which I assumed was just normal for married people to lose contact with unmarried friends. I messaged Kirsten Saturday. I used the pretense that I was thinking of taking things to the next level with Jen, and that since she was the first person in the friend group that got married and that she knew Jen that she could give me some advice. What she said next stunned me. She said that she didn't know that Jen and I were a couple, and that she hadn't spoken to Jen since the wedding. She also said we should meet up for coffee so she can fill me in on some things in person, but not to tell Jen we were meeting. We had coffee Sunday. Wow, here is what she told me. I have written this chronologically so it makes more sense. 1. According to Kirsten, Jen was a virgin until her 21st birthday. As a joke, Kirsten, Amber, and friends decided to hire a male stripper for Jen's birthday celebration. To everyone's shock, Jen really liked the stripper and she lost her V-card that night. 2. Jen got the stripper's phone number, and Kirsten said they met up with him a few times after the party for what Jen called a special private show. Jen was unabashedly proud of this. 3. Jen became more interested in dancers, and would do things like suggesting Magic Mike for movie night. Other times she would comment on guys walking around campus, making comments about abs and biceps. 4. Jen had a serious boyfriend after college and before we met that I didn't know about. According to Kirsten, their relationship ended when the boyfriend discovered Jen in bed with, a stripper. Jen had gone to a male review, hung out after the show. She managed to pick up one of the dancers and took him home. The BF ended up moving out of town for work, which is why I had never heard of him. The friend group knew about this mess and Kirsten figured Jen had learned her lesson. 5. At Kirsten's bachelorette party, where Jen and Amber were bridesmaids, Kirsten had explicitly told them no strippers. Despite this request, Jen and Amber arranged for 2 strippers to show up, and all 4 of them ended up clapping cheeks. Kirsten was understandably furious with them hijacking her bachelorette and blatantly disrespecting her, and ended the friendship with Jen and Amber, though she kept them in the wedding party because the wedding date was only a week away and she didn't want word of this to get out and overshadow the wedding. Looking back, I remember the vibe of the wedding felt off, and this was why. I could tell Kirsten was still rightfully very angry about the whole situation, and said I deserved to know the truth. Over the course of an hour I went from stunned to furious. I'll spare you the ugly details of Sunday evening, but I broke it off and told Jen she has until the end of the week to move out. She was crying, screaming, begging, but at this point I had enough and told she could just screw off and go away. Among her excuses, there was nothing wrong with a woman liking hot men, and that it was all just a fantasy no different than guys liking corn. It got her horny and I got the benefit of it. I was being insecure. She really loved me and saw a future together, and this was something she could work through. Oh, she never slept with strippers after Kirsten's bachelorette, and that debacle was early in our relationship and shouldn't count. But who the frick knows? Jen will be sleeping in the spare room for now, but I told her this is over. I will avoid her as much as I can until she moves out. I am not worried about her doing psycho things. I think she knows I will go nuclear and tell her parents and family the whole story if she tries anything. So it's done. Thank you again for everyone who gave me the needed push to man up and confront this. Update, Jen finished moving out Saturday. No drama. I mostly avoided her. She made some attempts at reconciliation, but I think she knew it was hopeless. Some of you made helpful suggestions to protect myself, but mostly weren't needed. I wasn't worried about her trashing the place. She's not crazy. She just got caught. She also knew that I would go nuclear if she tried any stunts. In all years together she has never seen me this pissed off. Hell, I had never seen me this pissed off. I also wasn't worried about her trying to spin some story for sympathy. Our respective families live in different states. Our friend circles, what's left of hers, don't overlap. We work for different companies. So there was no one for her to play the sympathy card on. Also, I wasn't worried about baby trapping, as I would never stick my banana in that again. Also, we are both well-paid IT professionals with plenty of disposable income and no desire to have kids. The STD panel is clean. I did speak with Kirsten, former friend of Jen, to let her know what happened. One thing she said made me feel a bit better. She said that during and after college Jen was actually pretty selective in who she dated and was not into the casual hookup culture, and probably hadn't been with more than 5 guys total before me, with the obvious exception she had a hobby of screwing strippers. And yes, I know that sounds messed up writing it, but she probably wasn't running around with loads of random hookups behind my back. So yes, I may have been naive, but not that naive. One of my friends said this whole thing reminded him of stories about men with loving wives and families but who have some kink that can only be satisfied by hiring women for the streets. Losing her V-card to a stripper may have done something to Jen's psyche that could only be satisfied with some jack dude with oiled muscles dancing. Not my problem anymore. I am doing as okay as can be in this situation. I'm not really depressed because I am still pissed off about the whole situation. At some point I may go to a strip club just to see what they are all about. Story 2. My husband, 25M, has asked to start going on regular dates with me, 26F, again, and I'm a little sad. My husband John and I have been married for over 2 years, and dated for about 3 years before that. Overall, we have a generally healthy relationship with good communication. When we first got married, we used to go on lots of dates, not necessarily anything big, sometimes just coffee or a drive, but we went out of our way to get out of the house together for quality time. As time has passed, I have taken on more freelance work, keeping me busier, and he's started saying that he's just too tired or doesn't feel like getting ready to go out after work or on his days off. Up until now, I haven't had an issue with that. He does work a lot and I don't blame him at all. But here's where things have changed. A couple of months ago, he got really interested in digital marketing, basically selling products online. He bought an expensive course to help him learn, and has started trying to consistently post 3 times a day in order to build a following on a new Instagram account. So he's really putting a lot of work into this. I'm not holding my breath that it will work out for several reasons that I won't get into here, unless you want them, but I've never discouraged him from doing it. When he gets stressed, I encourage him. I tell him often that I'm proud of all his hard work, I am, etc. I only mention that to say that I'm not against him trying this out and haven't put him down for it ever, but this is why I've gotten a little sad. Last week, we went on a cute date after he got off work on Saturday, and I loved it. We laughed and talked and generally had a great time like those first dates after getting married. While we were on the date, I had an idea for a cute reel that took maybe 5 minutes to record, and then I put my phone away for the rest of the time. When we got home, I created and posted the reel, adding him as a collaborator with his new digital marketing Instagram account. At his request, I guess he's gotten advice to post real life things, not just videos trying to sell. No biggie. I didn't mind. Well, since I already have a following, small, but bigger than his, that reel did better than any of the other ones on his account. Great. We both thought, but now he's asked to go on a small date every Saturday. At first I was so happy. I love to get back to our regular dates, but then he said it would be so that we could get content for his page. He asked if I could be a collaborator on all or most of the posts, but if he could post them himself so he gets the credit for the engagement. I guess all the views /like/ etc. don't actually bump his page analytics since I was the one who created the post. I'm feeling hurt because for over a year, he hasn't shown much interest in taking me out. Now all of a sudden, because he needs content and saw how I could help his view count go up, he wants to go on dates. Though, I guess I'm just feeling used and like I'm not any kind of a priority. I feel like the dates won't even count as actual dates because he's not asking to go out to spend time with me. I do want to reiterate that I'm not opposed to him doing this side job, and I'm not even opposed to helping him or collaborating on posts, though I'd prefer not to do it every week. I'm actually really happy, whether or not it works out as a moneymaker, that he's just putting a lot of effort into something that excites him. I haven't seen him this into anything maybe ever. I'm asking for advice because I don't know if I should bring this up to him or not, and if I do, what should I say? The last thing I want to do is make him feel bad or discourage him in his new endeavor. Should I just be grateful to be going on dates again? Am I being selfish? Thanks for any and all advice and sorry if this is very long. If this could be posted to sub, I'm open to suggestions. I couldn't post a relationship advice because it has a yes or no question lol. Edit, because so many people are getting hung up on the double standard of me making content on the date, but not wanting him to. I just want to clarify that I'm not a content creator by any means. I asked if he'd want to do this reel and he said yes, and it's not a regular thing as I don't post much. To me the difference here is that the whole point of these dates moving forward will be to get content, and for him it will be work, where for me it was just a fun thing for us. Maybe this doesn't make a difference, but that's just how I see it in my head. Update, so, first of all thank you to the vast majority of you who were logical and kind, and screw the people who immediately jumped to bashing women, in 2024? Really? Anyways, here's what I ended up doing. Many of the comments said that the best thing to do was probably just take the win and find the good in my situation, but if it's really bothering me, to bring it up to John, I honestly didn't want to, but I didn't want to be upset on every date either, so I decided to give it a trial run and see how I felt after. I waited 2 weeks to make a decision, and chose to go ahead and mention it to him. For those of you who think I'm some dramatic witch whose husband could never do enough to make her happy, I told him, I was sure how I felt wasn't how he intended to come across, but then explained what I had been thinking. Sure enough, as many of you said, he was just killing two birds with one stone. I told him I was totally fine creating content on our dates, but I just didn't want to feel like that was why we were on a date. He said that he understood and would be careful about it, and that if I was bothered or wanted to have a no-content date, to just let him know. So, that's the good part. The next part was a little tougher. Per the advice of a couple of you with either digital marketing or MLM experience, I had the tough pyramid scheme talk. I told him before, during, and after this conversation that no matter what he chooses to do, I will support him and help him. But I also explained to him a few things, how the marketing was misleading, how most people lose money instead of making it, how they will try to keep trying to get him to spend more money to make it work, etc. I also suggested that he track his hours of learning, content creating, and posting, so that even if he does start making sales, he can decide if the time is worth the payout. I probably mentioned other things as well, but I don't remember what if so. I have always been very anti-MLM and like to think I know a lot about it, so I just tried to give him all the basic info in a kind way. After all that, I told him if he wanted to keep trying, I was for it as long as he doesn't invest any more money before he makes some. I also told him how I was so proud of all the work he put into his side hustle so far and how I loved that he was excited about it, how he's been getting up early to work out because of it. He will record parts of his run / stretches / etc., but actually does a full workout or run, and I love how it's energized him. Understandably, he was a little sad and quiet, but he understood everything and wasn't mad at all. This was all last night and he was totally back to normal before bed, and he's continued posting today, so I guess I didn't hurt his feelings or discourage him like I thought I might. That's the whole reason I waited so long, but I guess it would have been fine all along. I am looking forward to our weekly dates, and to the fact that we will be able to look back and remember them all since we will have videos from each one. Again, grateful for all of your kind words, and I'm happy to answer comments or questions. Just be nice for goodness sake.